God. We've been outside today. We're looking at the parking lot. You remember, as a church, we decided that part of the construction process right here, where it's been kind of broken up and cracking and so forth. So we're trusting the Lord to help us get that done. We've got some men out there looking at that. I appreciate Brother Steve Berenson and other companies who are helping us with that. There have been some Facebook issues. I don't know if that's part of our issue today. Last night they actually removed our live feeds from the last few days. I think they're back up and running. In case that happens again, we will put a link on Facebook that you can actually go back and look at this on our YouTube account. We're apologizing for that, but somehow it wasn't working right, but we're going to go on. I want you to pray for some people. Would you please? I have some prayer requests to mention today. We can, in case, obviously we're not able to, we are going to have, but this daily update just kind of reminds us to pray for one another and what's going on in people's lives. I got a message this morning from Tabitha Bausman. Her two sons, Jesse and Caleb, were on the way to work this morning, and they hydroplaned, and they had an accident, but thankfully they're fine, and we're glad for that. But pray for Jesse and Caleb, if you would, please. We're glad that they are okay. Continue to pray for Julian Finley. He's having a difficult time. Pray for Conway Mason and his mom. Thank you. Yesterday, by the way, many of you came to the funeral. That was a little bit unique. It was unusual. The funeral was outside. We're trying not to certainly spread anything, but people wanted to come. We had the funeral yesterday for Miss Jody Sanders, and my goodness, the Lord met with us. We had a sweet spirit. We had a good time in the Lord, and a number of you folks were there. We didn't have any physical contact. We were trying to kind of obey all those rules, so to speak, and not spread any germs. But in spite of all of that, I believe the Lord was pleased. We tried to honor Miss Jody. We tried to be an encouragement to the family. So thank you for praying for John, and continue to follow up with him and be a blessing to him, be an encouragement to him. These days after a funeral like this are not always easy. So thank you for loving on him. John Bancroft's dad. We're praying for Don Sawyer's dad. We're praying for our school leaders. We're having all these postponements with school and all of this. And so we're praying for our school leaders. By the way, thank you. If you're watching, please put a comment. Say, hey, this is a crazy day, and in spite of all the technical difficulties, I'm still watching today, Pastor Tad. Let us know that you're watching. We're trying to encourage one another. We're trying to keep in contact with one another this way. So put a comment that we're watching today. Obviously, we want you to be watching tonight at 7 o'clock. We're praying for all the folks in the medical community. We have numbers of folks in our church who are working in the medical community. I got a message this morning from Gordon Jones. Gordon Jones, one of our medical doctors here in the church, he's being called up to National Guard duty. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to take place, but even our National Guard, people like that. So all the folks in public safety, all the folks in the medical community, we're praying for our president. Pray for Brother Tom Farrell. And he's been texting me, and he was here, a weekend ago, and he's having surgery tomorrow for his brain tumor. So on Thursday of this week, tomorrow, please pray for Tom Farrell, if you would, please. And so we're praying for a lot of folks. Continue to pray for Sherry Russell. Sherry Russell recently had surgery. I think there's been some complications from that. So pray for Sherry Russell. Continue to pray for the Garden City Rescue Mission. And we went down there the other day to put up a tent because they're having so many men come. And we had some difficulty with the tent because of the concrete in the ground and so forth. But they're trying to put the tent up today. They're going to actually, Lord willing, be putting some men in a tent just because there's a need. And some of our own people are responding, and you're helping with food. Some of our people have been dropping by donations. Thank you for helping with that. I want to thank Miss Jennifer Mobley. Miss Jennifer, you've kind of helped spearhead some folks providing food and helping meet needs. That's a blessing. And I just want to say something good about God on your behalf. You've been serving the Lord. Thank you for that. So listen, let me remind you of something. I've got my Bible today. I could talk and talk and talk, but I want to hear from the Lord. I want to say something good about God, but I want God to say something to us. Tonight, Lord willing, in the 7 o'clock service, I'll be in Psalm 139. Now just listen, I don't even have to make much comment about this, and just let the Word of God speak to you. I want to remind you that God knows. God knows about you. God knows about our circumstance. God knows about everything that we're dealing with in the midst of all of this. I want you to think about the knowledge of God. I want you to think that God knows. Listen to this passage, Psalm 139. We'll be preaching from it, Lord willing, tonight. O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. God knows me. Thou knowest my downsitting and my uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. God knows, God understands. Thou compassest. That means he kind of circles around. He sees everything. Thou compassest my path. and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. And then he goes on, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. He goes on, thou art there. God is everywhere. God knows everything. There's nothing that he's not acquainted with. He knows every word of our mouth. He knows every thought in our heart and our mind. And I want to remind you today that God knows. Some of you are watching. You might have your school. Life, because of all of this, it's not so much the virus, and we're certainly concerned about that, but your life may just kind of be hectic right now. There may be a lot of stress in your life because of all the things that you're trying to hold together. I just want to encourage you today. It's one thing if our friends know. It's one thing maybe if the preacher knows, and that's all well and good. But God knows. He knows. He's aware. He's acquainted with the stress that you're under, maybe the mess that you're in, maybe the anxiousness that you're experiencing. God knows. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And if I could say something good about God today, I would say this. There's nothing that he's unaware of. He knows every need of your heart. And I want to remind you of that today. I pray that you'll join us tonight. We'll be here together at 7 o'clock. Brother Tim will help us with prayer time. We're going to have some extra elements of the service. We're even going to have a missionary moment with Brother Larry tonight. And I'll be preaching from this passage, Psalm 139. If you have teenagers, young people, Brother Zach will be going live on the teen Facebook page at 6:45. Obviously, we're looking forward to Sunday. But a lot of things are taking place. Love on one another. Encourage one another. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for putting a comment. Thank you for sharing this. We will put this on Facebook. It's on Facebook. We're going to put it on YouTube as soon as we get done. But we're just trying to get it out there. We love you. We thank God for you. Remember, Lakeside is not closed, only the building. We're still a family. We're still a church. And we're still trying to encourage one another. God bless you. Well, Lord willing, we'll see you tonight at 7, as well as tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.